I just feel like ranting every minute. The more I think about this, the more I see, the more I read, the more I just can't believe it. We've just seen, what we're seeing is that the Leeds Metropolitan Police officer sat in his car whilst Khalid Masood was butchering and murdering another police officer. He sat in his car with two other officers, I think, and locked the door. Now, anyone who looks up, anyone who has a look at Israel, when a terrorist attacks in Israel, they run at the terrorist. They don't run and hide. They know if one Israeli is attacked, if one Jewish man is attacked, they're attacking us all. So we fight and we defend. And they have to. Now, what we're being told is, if there's a terrorist attack, run, hide. The lead officer, when you swear your oath as a police officer, he's in charge of those other men. To serve and protect. And he locked his door and watched. Instead of even trying to draw attention from the terrorist. It's like the Millwall fan, the London Bridge attack. Three men enter a bar with knives. There would be 100 men in that bar. If our policy was to attack, yeah, don't run, don't hide, get them, right? You'll pull them down, you'll stop them. But the same sort of people leading our police, your average police officer, you see how brave they are. They fight, yeah? They would defend each other, the average police officer. But the cowards at the top, who are like politicians, lock their car doors and watch as police officers are butchered and murdered, okay? These are the same people at the top of the British Army right now who are trying to enforce transgender police officers. You know, transgender, when you look at trans, 50% of trans people attempt to commit suicide. They suffer mental health issues, many of them. Okay, it's a very difficult life, and I'm sympathetic to it. You want a man standing by your side in the front line. You want to know he's there and he's mentally right as well, yeah? And all of these new policies, which are common purpose policies, to weaken our military, to weaken the kind. I think some people would only be happy when the military is full of transgender Muslims. They want and the morale must be so low because of all of these actions. Now, the kind of person within the army now who's sitting in a position of power, who's saying discipline them men, pull them men in. What I've witnessed today on every radio station, and they're using this, they want me to be a pariah. They want it to be unacceptable to support me, unacceptable to talk about me. You'll lose your job, you'll be persecuted, you'll be harassed. And that's what this is about. Far-right activists, that's all I'm hearing. The military, the army men were photoed with far-right activists. Far-right. None of them give any proof, any evidence to these accusations. Even the military said. The military said, we're against far-right, presuming and acting as though I'm far-right. Islam values, their core tenets, misogynistic, anti-women. I am for women's rights. Homophobic, I'm for gay people's rights. Okay? Anti-Semitic, I oppose anti-Semitism. I'm a proud supporter of Israel. Okay? All of these views, violent, fascist, oppressive, an ideology that teaches all of its followers that they're supremacist. It's a supremacist ideology. My liberal views, not my far-right views, my liberal views are the reason that I'm opposed to Islam and the core tenets of Islam. Recently, the British Army put a post out. They had to delete it because of the backlash by the British public, where taxpayers' money, that's us, all of us, our money was spent on sending a group of imams. These are imams who believe that it's acceptable for child marriage, believe that the perfect human being was Muhammad, who had sex with a child and raped her. He beheaded 600 people. These are imams which were sent on an army retreat with the British Army as part of some diversity bollocks, because that's all it can be phrased as. Okay? It's embarrassing. The campaigns being put out in the army's name are embarrassing. The motive, the agenda that has been pushed on our British Armed Forces is the same that's being pushed across all institutions of this country. Common purpose, politically correct, diversity. Okay, there's always been gay people in the army, and they've always been respected. They've always been respected. These issues, thank you very much. These issues that are being pushed and brought forward. It's just, I just can't believe that we're in this position. The British military, the British Armed Forces are about to be penalised. If it's right that one of them has been discharged because of this, if it's right, then this country, so far we're at 45,000, I believe, maybe 50,000 now, signed signatures of a petition. Okay, that's going to go and go and go. Please share the link everywhere. It takes 1 minute. It takes 1 minute to sign a petition. What that means is we now have 50,000 people who are angered by this and putting their name forward that we can contact if we have to have a campaign against this. If there has to be a campaign against whoever the leading officer is, or whoever's instigating this disciplinary against British Armed Forces for exercising their own freedom to have a photograph. And as I've said, none of them made comments about Islam, none of them made comments about my views. They literally had a photograph, okay? A photograph with a journalist who has recently been wrongfully imprisoned for speaking up against Muslim, paedophile, grooming, rape, jihadi gangs. That's it. That's the be-all and end-all. And you want to discipline them. When you look, and this is all, again, I'm going to repeat myself, but people need to, this is all coming from the Muslim Council of Britain. Now, the Muslim Council of Britain have put forward this complaint, and the army are pandering to the Muslim Council of Britain. One of the leaders in the Muslim Council of Britain, a few years ago, just before Lee Rigby was murdered, signed a piece of paper that said British Army are legitimate targets for suicide bombings. No joke. The Muslim Council of Britain done that. That's what the Muslim Council of Britain done. That's who our army are currently pandering to. Grow a pair. That's what needs to happen. The people at the top need to grow a pair and say, they're young men, they had a photo, shut up. Okay, that's it. None of them made any political comments at all. None of them. It's infuriating. And imagine the morale within the armed forces. They're being pushed and shoved. You know, even I was speaking to someone in the Navy. You could have a male in the Navy who then says, I now feel like a woman, because we're telling everyone that they have no sexuality and there's no such thing as men and women. I now feel like a woman. He's given a month off automatically on full pay. And then when he comes back as a woman, still with a cock, right, still a man, he is then put in the women's dormitories. Really? Insanity. All of these different things must be chipping away at the people serving our Queen and country. The morale, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. That's what it is. The British Army, the best in the world, the young men who form it, the best in the world, but yet you keep making a mockery of it and you keep making a joke. I'm sorry, but it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They've been spat at, they've been abused. That's what I formed my activism because our armed forces were spat at. A soldier's mum, a young lad died from our town, and as they were given the freedom of the city, they spat in the mum's faces. But butchers are badger, baby killers, with full permission and protection by the local police and the council. That's what my activism started over. We've always supported our armed forces. Now, the government might want that to happen and allow that to happen, but the British public won't allow that to happen. Okay, they won't allow that to happen. There will be a resistance to any disrespect of our armed forces. We have a military covenant that the government are not upholding. They're not upholding it. They are not upholding it. And then it's gone from attacking our troops. That's where it's gone from, attacking our troops and spitting in them. Then they set fire to poppies. These are all the warning signs, okay? Then they set fire to poppies, and nothing's done. Nothing's done. They were allowed to do it. Then they protest the USA. All of these things against our armed forces. And then they end up beheading one of our armed forces in London. And Michael Adebolajo, who done that, we made a video about him 12 months prior to him beheading him. You know, the far right. We showed who he was. We warned of his extremism. And they still let him walk the streets. And you know what? Do you know Mark Rowley is a common purpose, ex-leading police officer, the Metropolitan Counter-Terrorism. He's the one who equated me as equivalents of Anjem Chowdhury. Mark Rowley. Do you know whose decision it was? When Khalid Massoud attacked Houses of Parliament and murdered a police officer on the floor, whose decision was it not to have armed police officers at Parliament, at the front? Mark Rowley. Mark Rowley. Blood's on your hands, mate, not mine, right? Not mine. We're in a war, and if you accepted we're in a war, even Lee Rigby, there should be around our military bases, they should be patrolled by armed personnel. Woolwich Barracks is within 5 miles of the biggest Islamic ghetto in Europe. There's a war going on. Okay? Our armed forces, our police, and our citizens are all targets. But you keep pretending Islam's a religion of peace. You keep lying to the public and deceiving the public. And then when someone wants to talk up and give facts, everything's based on facts and evidence and the scripture and the tenets of Islam, who Muhammad was. You want to attack, destroy, and imprison the people who say that. And not just imprison them now, you want to sack and crucify people. And this is meant to be a warning to everyone. You lose your pension. People are so scared in this country because they've got high mortgages, they're financed up to their heads, and then the minute they speak, they lose their jobs. And that's what this is. This is a warning against all of you. This is to put you all back in your box because they can see a growing trend and a growing tidal wave movement of patriotism and nationalism in this country and pride that is growing, and they know it's growing. And they can't stop it. So this is all about scaring people and putting them back in. All of this whole media campaign. Sky News are running this thing about our armed forces, about my photo with them. And in that article, guess what they have? This is the same man who said, the same fake news, which you've all seen is fake news, they include that again. Tommy Robinson doesn't care if his views incite fear. Never said it. Unbelievable. The world's watching, and all this does, more and more, is expose you and wake more people up. More people up. But in this case, support our boys. You know, I'm not saying support me. You can disagree with me politically. Many people will. Yeah? This isn't about me. This is about freedom of a man to take freedom of our armed services. Take a photo of whoever they want. Whoever they want. Keep sharing it. Sign the petition. Baked beans with steak. Weird, isn't it? I asked for chicken, but they didn't have chicken. See you later.